If you're not going to execute in excellence at the lowest level, why would you expect God to elevate you to the next level? Don't use your procrastination or your unwillingness to be excellent as an excuse to justify the lie that you should trust God. Hey there, Beacon. Welcome back to your Bounce Back Blueprint Community podcast. I am your Bounce Back guide, Tiffany Huff Struthers, and you know I am all too excited that you are back in the place to be with me this week. In case you missed it, we are digging deep into our series on trust issues, and this week we are in phase 2. However, if you have not listened to the first 2 episodes of the series, then I encourage you to hit the pause button and go listen to those first. It will make so much more sense, I promise. Now, grab your journal and let's dig in. This week, like I said, we are in phase 2. And phase 2 is I should trust God. So in phase 2, you are moving from I can't into I should. And our scripture for this week is Proverbs 16:20. It says, "Whoever gives heed to instruction prospers, and blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord." So let me tell you a little bit about what goes down in phase 2. In this phase, we are experiencing a lot of deja vu because God is not going to elevate us if we are not doing it His way on the lowest level. He is not about to elevate us to the next level. And so while in phase 2, you find yourself saying or thinking, I should trust God, but... And you find yourself struggling and trying to find balance while you're straddling the fence about what you can do better without God. If you're taking notes, write this down. You can't do better without God. And so, as we prepare to dig deep, this is what I want you to remember when you are working through phase 2. Sometimes you got to start from scratch. I know you're probably thinking, what? I've invested all of this hard work, all of this money, and you want me to just let it all go and start all over again? You want me to forget about my time investment when I don't know how long it'll take to do it differently? You want me to just shrug off all the blood, sweat, and tears, the hard work it cost me when I don't even know if I have it in me to work this hard ever again? You think I'm about to deplete my savings and blow my credit score to try to do it better with God? And I get it, sis. I do, because you better believe I had the exact same conversations with God over and over again. But what I know for sure is when you have a setback and you're on this bounce back journey, if you trust God, you are gonna have to start from scratch. So let me tell you how I know. Grab your coffee or your tea if you need to. For a while, everything I was trying to do was a mess, including my hair. I'm going to go ahead and remind you now that our podcast community is a no judgment zone before I give you this tea. Okay? So, 2015, I was dibbling and dabbling with doing what God wanted me to do, just with my own spin on it, because, I was not trying to be a Jesus girl. I just wasn't. But I decided to do God a solid and share on social media this 40 days of fearless faith I was feeling led to do. Basically, I was going to do one thing that scared me every day for 40 days. On the 38th day, I went into my bathroom and really looked at myself in the mirror. Particularly, I looked at my hair. It had grown a lot over the past year, and I had been faithfully rocking my bun that I loved, top knot. But when I looked at my hair in the mirror, I noticed how limp, dry, and brittle my blonde tresses had become. I took the time to run my fingers through my hair and felt how lifeless it was, and how all of the changes in my life over the past year had taken a complete toll on my hair. My first reaction was to cry. Again, don't judge me. I knew it was only hair. I was just really disappointed in the seemingly consistent flow of damage, dysfunction, and disappointment consuming all areas of my life in that season. And obviously, my hair was not exempt. So, of course, I did the most logical thing any girl on a 40-day journey of fearless faith would do. I grabbed a pair of scissors and without a thought started cutting my hair off until I could see no more blonde. I cut it all off, down to my roots. In a split second, sis, I was starting from scratch. Not long after I had commenced to cutting my tresses, my niece showed up. She came into the bathroom and shouted, "No!" Like the people do in the movies right before someone gets run over or the bad guy gets away with the girl. She couldn't save my hair. It was dead. She was tripping. I was like, "It's cool. I am not my hair," in my India Ari voice. I didn't know it then, but God was setting me up. He was showing me then how easy it is to just decide to no longer carry around dead weight. Let me repeat that for those of you who are doing the most while you listen to this podcast. God was showing me then how easy it was to decide to no longer carry around dead weight. He was releasing me from the desire to dress up the dead stuff in my life and make it look good, even though deep down I knew it was time to let go and start fresh. God was whispering in my ear, "Sometimes you got to start from scratch, Tiffany." I wasn't really ready to start from scratch though. After about an hour or so, I went back into the bathroom and looked in the mirror and screamed just like my niece had, "No!" What had I done? And where did I think I was going with this buzz cut? I was grieving the release of dead stuff. Normal, right? I'll be honest, I was feeling like I should have just kept my dead stuff. I should have just kept my dead stuff. I was more comfortable with the dead weight of my damaged, dry, brittle hair than I was with the possibility that the hair I had would grow, would be healthy, beautiful, and alive. I hated what I looked like with healthy hair so much that I didn't want anyone else to see what my hair really looked like. I immediately covered it up, donning a head wrap, and a few short days later, I had made an appointment to get extension. I had just enough hair to get braids. Winning, or so I thought. The truth was, what I had done with my hair was a reflection of what I was doing in my everyday life. I was releasing dead stuff. I was tearing things down, cutting myself off from activities, and getting to the roots of relationships I knew I no longer should engage in. But in those moments, after making those decisions, during the time when I should have been trusting God with what was to come, I got anxious, self-conscious, and I felt like I was losing control. I bet you can relate to, sis. You get knee deep into the bounce back journey. You build some momentum. You start doing the things that God tells you to do, and then boom. And the moments after making those decisions, you start to think like me. And for me, losing control was not an option. So I cowered behind walls that I could quickly build. I actually cowered behind the walls of a false safe house I was building with a faulty foundation. You know how it is. You go hard in the gym and clean up your diet, get excited about the possibility of having that summer body, and then not eating cookies becomes way too much of a sacrifice. So you're like, "You know what? I'm good. I'm popping. I love myself no matter how much I weigh." The truth is, you don't want to start from scratch. Or, maybe it's that one guy, on again, off again. You finally get up the courage and strength to move on because the relationship is going nowhere fast, but it gets cold and you don't want to sleep alone. So you tell him he can come through just till the weather breaks. You struggle with the reality it was time to start from scratch. I would stop offering services in my business because I knew God wanted it to be more of a ministry. But then I'd be like, I ain't about to be no Jesus girl. I'm not about that life. So I would cover up who I knew God said I was and do what was popular. I'm just being honest. I didn't want to start from scratch. Every time God told me to start from scratch, every time I knew I should trust him, I tried to hide my truth, just like I hid my hair under that head wrap. Meanwhile, God was looking at me like the little pig who built her house with sticks. He was planning to blow my little house down. And guess what? He blew my house down, literally. One day I was with my beau, who was unaware of the fresh start I'd made a few months earlier. I was scratching my head and didn't notice my head wrap came off. Sis, it got real. All I heard was, Tiffany, in a voice similar to the one your mom uses between clenched teeth in public. I'll spare you the details, but the conversation was not enjoyable. When it ended, I found myself in my room by myself, angry, frustrated, and a bit embarrassed. Because the truth is, we don't like to get naked with people watching. We don't want people to see what we believe is the ugliness of the new beginning. We spend so much time trying to cover up the truth that we need a fresh start that we miss out on the growth that happens in the process. We miss out on all of the possibility, all of the peace, and all of God's presence if we don't trust him when we should. As I sat in my room exposed and yet still hiding, I realized what I thought I shouldn't trust God. The truth was, I shouldn't trust myself. I was ready to start from scratch. And if you've been walking in circles, experiencing the same things over and over again because you refuse to start from scratch, I have a suggestion. Maybe, just maybe, you should consider walking circles God's way. Because God can have you walking in circles to tear down walls and start from scratch to have what he intended for you to have, just like he did with Joshua and the Israelites in Joshua chapter 2. Once I realized I should trust God, I shut everything down. I walked in circles for God and I let him tear down the walls I myself had built. I let him replace my feelings of loss with the desire to let go. And I recognized where I felt there was lack, I simply had more room for God to bless me. If I hadn't been willing to start from scratch, if I hadn't decided I should trust God, if I had been unwilling to accept my mess, you wouldn't be listening to this message. If I hadn't been willing to start from scratch, there'd be no podcast, no books, no confirmation of the promises God had made me, and maybe no awareness of the promises God has for you too. Trusting in God is all about perspective. It's about seeing how important it is to go bald sometime and being still while everyone wonders why, while everyone questions your decisions. It's about being bold enough to come out of the house with your little fro, smiling just like you would with a head full of healthy blonde hair. It's about knowing you should trust God more than any head wrap or miracle grow or anything else that might give you what you think you want, and more importantly, what you think you need. And so if you are in phase 2 and you know there are some places and spaces in your life where you should be trusting God for this bounce back journey, then I want to encourage you to have a heart to heart with yourself. And then, of course, have a heart to heart with God. And then after your heart to heart with God, have another one with yourself, because you got to do this heart work. And of course, I want to share a few journal prompts that you can write or pray through. Number 1, what do I know I should trust God with, but I refuse to? What do I know I should trust God with, but I refuse to? And in addition, why? Why do I refuse to? Who have I been trying to cover up or hide my truth from? How would my life change for the better if I trusted God like I should? Where am I experiencing deja vu because I refuse to start from scratch? And last but not least, what dead weight am I clinging to because I have convinced myself it's more comfortable? That's what I got for you for phase 2. I'm really praying that you will take the time and journal through and pray over those questions and your answers and create the space for God to speak to you about how your choice to stay in phase 2 is really stunting your growth, how it's keeping you from recovering completely from your setback, and how there are so many people waiting on you to move forward so that you can make major impact. If you have not already, you need to hit subscribe wherever you are listening. And after you listen to this episode, leave a review, please. Because if it was a blessing for you, leaving a review is going to make it more likely that someone else will be blessed too. So take a moment, leave a review, write some comments, and then head down to that link and join the Bounce Back Blueprint community. The doors will be opening soon, and I want you to be the first to be on the welcome wagon. This is the space that is going to be the launch pad for you to create your Bounce Back Blueprint. This is where you're going to be challenged and encouraged to not only grow through your trust issues, but to do and be and have all that God has called you to. So I look forward to seeing you on the inside. And of course, remember, God is not going to play you. But if you refuse to trust Him, if you refuse to start from scratch, you're playing yourself.